Greetings, everyone. Through here, welcome to the Demo Hub. Welcome to another exciting episode. Today, we have a guest, Alina. Alina is coming from JetBrains, and she will be talking with us today about a product from the JetBrains family called Datalore. Alina, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Fru, for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Really glad to have you, Alina. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Dublin. So,
Oh, Dublin. Pretty beautiful. I love Ireland.
yeah, it's already spring in here. So,
Oh, is it spring?
yeah,
It's just because I've been out there once and everybody was talking about Guinness. Now, I don't know if you drink, but I think it was a big thing when we were out there.
of course, they even created a surfboard with Guinness logo, and it's now my dream surfboard.
Oh, that's awesome, Alina. Okay, really good. So today we're going to be talking about data law for, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Is
Yeah,
that the okay? Now, for the audience who might never have heard about data law or maybe JetBrains, can you talk a little bit about what JetBrains is and the family of products they have, including data law?
sure. So JetBrains is a company that is creating software development tools and also team tools. So
Mm-hmm.
JetBrains has created such tools as IntelliJ, IDEA, such as PyCharm, such as Datagrip, TeamCity, and I think we have around like 20 or 30 products.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a data science product line at JetBrains, which includes PyCharm, which is a full-fledged Python IDE for professional developers. We also have Dataspell, which is a lean data science IDE. And we have Datalore. And Datalore is a collaborative data science platform. And I was responsible for product marketing of Datalore for the last 3 years. So I've been there
Mm-hmm.
like with the product from its first public release. And I'm excited to talk about Datalore today mostly.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm really excited for that. So you said the audience, and I do love the JetBrains family, just to put it out there of tools. PyCharm is my go-to Python IDE. So, but data law really caught my attention. And you said the audience for that is data scientists, or who is the main
Yeah,
audience for data law?
so for Datalore, it's data science teams because
Mm-hmm.
the product is focused on collaboration, and our ultimate goal is to help data science teams streamline insight delivery and become more productive when collaborating both within the data team and with business teams. And yeah, just we try to make it easy for remote data science teams to organize their work and to also spend the majority of their working time working more productively within Jupyter notebooks.
Oh, okay. I really love that. And I love the name law. You think about folklore and law really being about knowledge. So I can't wait to jump in and see what that experience looks like from a demo perspective. I know a lot of the audience are always excited about the demo part. So let's jump right in to take a look at the demo. Take it away, Alina.
Yeah. Can you see my screen now, right?
Yes, yes.
Perfect. So right now on my screen, you can see a Jupyter notebook in Datalore, and Datalore supports four major kernels. We support Python, Kotlin, Scala, and R. And in each of those kernels, we also have native SQL cells, which allow you to query your data integrations. So when I was talking about
Just a question that just jump in. Sorry for the interruption. So number one, data law is just cloud based. Is SaaS based. You cannot download and
yeah,
install this like PyCharm. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Datalore is a web-based tool. So there are a few ways how you can use Datalore. We do offer a managed cloud version on the free community plan and Datalore professional plan. And we also offer on-premises version of Datalore, which companies can host in a private cloud or on-premises in private networks and be sure that the data is stays within their own company's environment. So, and we do also have a free offering for this enterprise on-premises version. So Datalore is free for teams of up to four, and on the enterprise plan, and individuals can also start free online with the community plan. And right now,
Okay.
I'm showcasing you our managed cloud version. It's available at jetbrains.com Datalore or directly at datalore.jetbrains.com. So everyone can basically log in with the Google email and set up the Datalore account.
Okay. And then you
Yeah,
also mentioned that it supports Jupyter Notebook. So for folks that might already have Jupyter or Jupyter Lab running somewhere, you can essentially port that notebook over and have this
exactly.
experience without having to install infrastructure to run that. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. So you can import your existing Jupyter notebooks. You can export notebooks from Datalore in IPNB format. So we are not, I would say, vendor locked here. So you can work with an open source Jupyter formats, but have more productivity features in Datalore. And one of them, and I think if you ever used PyCharm, you might probably be missing that if you're working with plain Jupyter, is the coding assistance. So whenever you'll be typing Python code, you will get code completion, basically the same code completion as you would get in PyCharm. And we've integrated this code completion, documentation pop-ups. For example, when I will hover over a certain function or a certain module, Datalore will give me the docs that could be really helpful when you are writing Python code, especially if you are a beginner. And we've brought this coding productivity features to the web-based tool, allowing people to work in Jupyter, but write better quality code, I would say, with less effort.
Less effort. Okay.
So one of the, I would say, key features for data scientists and for increasing the productivity is having this coding assistance. And I do believe that data scientists work a lot with Python currently. And I mean, just not I only, but like our whole team believes that that's this thing data scientists spend a lot of their time on. And we try to make it as productive as possible. And just Datalore supports any kinds of Python frameworks. So if you ever worked with certain libraries or packages, Jupyter, rest assured that Datalore will support that. So we are not limited to a certain environment setup, and you can always customize it as you go. So that's the Python part. I would also so when data scientists start their workflow, even though they might spend a lot of time working with Python, still there is the first step and getting their data. And Datalore supports lots of data integrations. You can work with simple CSV files. So each notebook in Datalore comes with persistent file storage. So you can just upload your CSVs here, quickly preview them, even edit those CSVs, and then just use them within your Python code. But we noticed that
is there a limit to, because as a data scientist, maybe running through experimentations, have data sets you want to bring in? I think it's really good that you support that persistence here. Is there a limit to how much data you can persist within the storage layer?
Yeah, so actually it's limited on community and professional plans. So currently community users get 10 gigabytes of file storage for free. And on the enterprise plan, it has no limits. Basically, as companies would be running Datalore on their own infrastructure, they are really flexible in the storage, the amount of storage they can give to their end users, as well as the compute power they can give to the data scientists.
And just because I'm curious, is there any extension to this? And if the answer is no, that's okay. To like Cloud Object Store, if someone already had.
Yeah. So if, for example, on community plan, you are running or running out of 10 gigabytes of file storage, you can just connect your S3 or GCS bucket, and this bucket would be mounted as a folder to your notebook, and you can upload the files here, you can preview the files from your S3 buckets, and just access the data in the buckets using this file directory. So there are also cloud storage integrations, and we also support various kinds of database connections. So that's actually I feel that's one of the coolest features in Datalore, the ability to connect to a lot of kinds of databases right from the Jupyter Notebook interface. And the cool thing about these connections is that the credentials for this connection are not exposed to the notebook's environment. Because, for example, you can connect to Snowflake using, I don't know, Python frameworks. You connect to MySQL using Python frameworks and write that SQL code in double quotes. But still, if you'll be further sharing your work, there could be a chance that your credentials might leak to a GitHub repo or to another place. And Datalore treats those credentials separately from the environment, and it stores it on a separate server. So when, for example, connecting to a Snowflake database, I can choose the authentication method I want to connect with. I can choose the schemas I want to introspect in my Snowflake database. I can connect using SSH, for example.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then after connecting to the database, I will not need to recreate this connection every time. So in Python, for example, if you want to use a certain database within your code, you need to rerun this connection code snippet every time as part of your every notebook. And in Datalore, you can create this database connection only once, and it would be available for all of the notebooks in your workspace. And as you can see right now on the screen, after connecting, you'll be able just to browse the database schema, understand what is inside your database, and further, you'll be able to create SQL cells. And when typing SQL, you will get code completion not only for SQL syntaxes, but also for table column names and for table names. And I find it really helpful when data scientists or when data analysts want to combine SQL and Python in one environment. Because after running this query, what Datalore will do, it will save the result to a pandas data frame that you can further reuse in your Python code. For example, here I have a bunch of SQL queries, and later on in my code, I'm using these data frames, which are essentially SQL query results, as part of my Python code cells. And I can even use them within interactive controls, and I can even parameterize SQL with Python. So it's a really seamless connection between the data and your further Python analysis. And here, what we are trying to solve is that like SQL is perfect for data retrieval. SQL is perfect for getting that data set. But then with Python, you have the flexibility to analyze the data, to, I don't know, even do some model prototyping on the data. And you can have this this solid piece of analysis in one notebook. So if you want to rerun it, if you want to, for example, refresh the data, you just click rerun cells, and Datalore will fetch the fresh data and rerun your whole analysis. So it's kind of keeps your work reproducible.
That's awesome. I love how you've brought the Intellisense that most folks have come to love of PyCharm into this experience to really accelerate and to optimize the developer experience
Yeah.
as you're working with this.
Yeah, and for example, this SQL code completion, it comes from another JetBrains product, Datagrip. So we are using Datagrip API under the hood. So we are like the way we try to develop Datalore, we see that like Jupyter is an exciting technology that really democratizes data science, and we take the knowledge with take basically the technologies that JetBrains has developing for years, and we are trying to build them in to Jupyter notebooks. Because even though data scientists are not necessarily software engineers, I think they would love to get like small little things that will improve their productivity. When I, like a small personal story, but like I graduated as a data scientist, and when I came to JetBrains, and when I first tried Datalore and learned about code completion, my life has changed forever. Because before I didn't know you can press, I don't know, tab in Google Colab. It wasn't intuitive for me. Nobody told me
Yeah.
about that. And I was just using, Stack Overflow a lot because I felt it's easier to copy the code. And after starting work in Datalore, I really like staying this tool because I have documentation here, I have coding assistance, and I feel like this support when I'm doing my analysis.
Oh, that's really really awesome to hear. And then for because you mentioned it, can you just for just the audience sake talk about you mentioned Datagrip. What was Datagrip again?
Yeah, so Datagrip is another JetBrains IDE which is focused on SQL developers.
SQL
So it allows
developers.
you to work with various SQL databases, run SQL queries. Datagrip, by the way, is also available as a plugin within PyCharm and Dataspell. So Datagrip as an IDE, it's mostly used by SQL developers, but again, we try to reuse the technologies across other JetBrains products.
Oh, okay, really awesome.
Yeah, and so we've talked about how you can connect your data from SQL, from cloud storages, from file storages together with your Python code, or by the way, it could be R code. So for folks working with R, they get the same user experience as with Python. Just my primary programming language is Python. That's why I'm focusing the demo on Python. But our folks can also enjoy these data integrations and no code automations, which I'm about to show you right now. And another, like, this demo is focused on my favorite features. So Datalore is not limited to the features I'm showing you today, but another really cool thing I love about the product is that it automates routine data science actions or data analysis actions. For example, I've just queried all of the columns from my screencast database, and Datalore brings out-of-the-box statistics just within a single click. And you get all of those percentiles, data distributions for categorical columns. You also see the values distributions. And if there would be missing values, Datalore will also highlight them with red. So for a data expert or for data specialist, within one click, you can get an overview of the quality of the data.
Of the data.
Yeah. And just
because
really,
this what a lot of data scientists do as part of that data exploration process, preparing and getting the feature ready to even start training models for folks who are going down that path. That all of this will be.
So there are a few ways how you can automate that. Like the most straightforward way is to write Python code to print all of the statistics for each column. Another way is to use Python frameworks. I know there is a framework called Pandas profiling, and I've used that before we introduced statistics step. And actually statistics step was inspired by such Python frameworks. Again, just we are integrating the things that you can still do with Python. It's possible to, print all of the statistics with native Python code, but we think that this action is so frequently used by data scientists that we have integrated it into the user interface, and until it really speeds up the data exploration process. And additionally to that, Datalore also has out-of-the-box visualizations available for every SQL query result and for every Pandas or R data frame. So by clicking Visualize tab, you get access to some of the most common visualization types, and you can quickly again understand your data and just understand the distributions, understand the trends. And if you just like this visualization and you want to configure it more, you want to just change the size, add the labels, you can export this visualization to a code cell. So our aim when developing Datalore, especially when there are so many no-code data science and data analysis tools, we still try to stay code-centric and automate the routine actions with the statistics tabs, visualizations, etc. Because we believe that Python gives you the most flexibility. And what can happen with no-code tools, they might be great. They might be like making you more productive, automating routine things. But if you want to change something without like requesting the team of those no-code tools to add a new feature for you, you can do nothing. And here we try to automate routine actions, but always give this confidence to data people that they can configure anything with Python.
Exactly. They can always bring their own code if they want to, because folks who turn to do the data scientists are folks who love code. So if they want to have that flexibility, it seems like you give it that to them.
Yeah, and at the same time, if, for example, there are a lot of SQL people who are now trying to explore Python for their use cases, and I feel that SQL analysts, they are more used to no-code tools, and we make the entry level for them as low as possible. Yeah, because they have the tools that they are comfortable using, and then they can slowly start integrating more and more Python into their workflow. And this basically allows teams of different backgrounds, of different technological stack, start working together in one environment. And I will talk about that a little bit later. So
collaboration, yes.
Yeah, collaboration is the most exciting part of the demo, I think. But yeah, so you can continue configuring those visualizations with your Python code. And just to quickly summarize what other automations we have, For example, you can sort the tables, then you can export the source table again as a pandas data frame. So Datalore will generate this code for you. We also have, of course, support for markdown cells. We have a bunch of interactive controls that are available from the user interface. For example, you can add data pickers, drop downs, text inputs, checkboxes, sliders. Of course, again, you can use IPython widgets, which is a Python framework
Oh,
for
nice.
making your work interactive, right? But
Mm-hmm.
for the most common widgets, we've created them as native elements of the interface. And what you can do, for example, you can populate a drop-down with a Python list variable. You can make it a multi-select, or you can specify, for example, static inputs for this specific drop-down. And then you can choose from the interface the option you want, and further reuse this choice either in a SQL cell. For example, here I have a parameterized SQL cell with where expression, or just continue using this variable within my Python code to build more complex visualizations with, for example, Plotly or other plotting packages. So that's about the book automations that we have. And the next thing probably we've covered, we started talking about that a little bit, is collaboration.
Yeah,
Because
can I just interject really quick to still and ask about one feature before we
sure.
jump off to the collaboration? Can you talk about and maybe elaborate a little bit about the packages that are available? So as a scientist, if I have my own custom packages,
Yeah.
homegrown within my organization, I want to bring that, or if I want to reach out to like PyPy or Anaconda to get packages from there, how flexible that is. That's one piece. And then also the kernel. I think you mentioned the different kernels you support. Let's just double click on that a little bit and showcase for the audience how easy it is to maybe switch between different kernels that might
Yeah,
hold different packages.
sure. So let's first talk about the environments and the environment manager in Datalore. So first of all, the way Datalore treats notebook environment is different from Jupyter notebooks or Jupyter Hub or Jupyter Lab. So in Datalore, each notebook's environment is isolated, meaning if, for example, you change the package version or you install new packages and it, I don't know, accidentally breaks something in the notebook, which can happen, it doesn't influence other notebooks of the same user or of other users if you're working in a team. And also it facilitates sharing of your work because notebook is associated with a certain environment. And when you share a notebook, you also share the associated configurations, environment configurations. And Datalore supports two package managers. We support pip and conda. Currently, I'm using pip. And for each package manager, you can choose from a list of base environments. And base environments, these are like pre-set up environments, which really speed up the notebook launch process. And companies on the enterprise plan, they can customize these base environments. And for example, if they develop, I don't know, a package available in a Git repository or a collection of scripts or some non-Python dependencies, what they can do is they can build those base environments. Actually, these are like custom Docker images that are that companies specify at the backend of the Datalore, and then users just can choose, I don't know, pip default, pip minimal, pip data science, pip data analysis based environments, and start not from scratch, but from this pre-configured env for them. But again, it's not limiting data scientists to customize the environment even further. It's just like a first step. So you start, you will be using 3 or 4 packages in most of your data science projects. So you can pre-build those into the base environment. But then if you, for example, lack a certain package, this is, by the way, our pip default environment, which we provide on the community and professional plans. So it has a bunch of packages pre-installed already. But if you lack a certain package, let's say you are lacking PyAthena, what you can do is search for PyAthena, or will search the PyPy repository, and then you can install this package right from the user interface. And what Datalore Environment Manager will do when you will reopen the notebook, it will persist these package configurations. However, there are 2 more things I'd like to talk about in terms of environments. First, like directly answering the question how you can bring your custom package that you develop within your company. There are a few things. First, you can make it part of base environment if you're using Datalore on the enterprise plan and you're hosting it in your private cloud or on-prem. But if you're using our community or professional edition, which are available in a managed cloud, you can just add a Git repository URL here. Then you'll be able to specify the branch of the package, and Datalore will install the package or a collection of scripts to the notebooks environment. And we also have, of course, the integrated terminal, where you can clone Git repos, where you can do pip install, conda install, and if you want to automate certain commands that you're running within the terminal, you can also specify them within an initsh script. An initsh script is like a bash script that is run before the environment, the environment manager starts installing the base environment. So you can specify anything you want here. Probably that was too deep for a first
No,
demo.
this is excellent, because I think this is really what folks really appreciate, right? I think we can show the UI, but also having this context of a background. This is phenomenal to
Yeah.
get to see this.
Yeah, so basically you can customize as you want. And again, we try to provide data scientists with really easy start. Within a few seconds, they can launch a new notebook and have all of the packages for them pre-installed. So yeah, and I personally, I hate dealing with virtual environments, and I never actually got how to set them up right so that my environments do not break all the time. So
You mean
that's
like setting up the different Conda environments and trying to
yeah,
manage that?
yeah.
Yeah, I call it the dependency hell, right? When every data
Dependency
scientist
how.
is gonna go come across that at some point or another in their career.
Yeah, I know that certain people have mastered that, and that's totally fine. But for those like me, for those people who would like to spend more time on real data science rather than some operational data science, I think Datalore can really help.
How?
So that's about the environment. And you had one more question.
I did ask about the kernel. The
Kernel.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, so we have four major kernels.
mm-hmm.
So you cannot switch between Python and R, but within Python kernel, you can switch between SQL, Python, Markdown. So
Okay.
it's not fully polyglot, because to be honest, we don't see a use case when a person would like to combine Python with R in one environment. But still you can use SQL and Python, R and SQL, Scala and SQL, Kotlin and SQL. And Kotlin is the programming language we develop at JetBrains. And just we also support it in Datalore, because folks in the Kotlin team, they do also love Jupyter notebooks for quick prototyping. And there's even a data science package, not one, but a list of data science packages for Kotlin. So yeah, just there are also enthusiasts and a community that love Kotlin for data science.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then just because I have a particular interest in this, are you familiar with Snowpark for Python?
Yeah, so I've tried using that a few
Mm-hmm.
times. It's a cool library that allows you to work with Snowflake data. But yeah, just in data, you can use Snowpark in Datalore, of course, because
Okay.
it's a Python package.
I might
But
have to bring you sometime so we can do just a session dedicated on a demo of Snowpark for Python in Datalore. I think that would be
we
a
can
good
do
one.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to explore this use case with you. But yeah, just
All right.
we also have like this native SQL access to Snowflake. So, and we have a bunch of customers who are using Snowflake together with Datalore, and they're loving this like SQL cells as well. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. And I know you were very excited about the collaboration aspect of this, so we can jump into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, sure. So in Datalore, it's really easy to start collaborating. So you can just share your notebook with either view or edit access link, or you can invite people specifically by the email. And I have already shared this notebook with Fru. So Fru will join me right now on the notebook. Fru, can you
Yeah,
join me?
and we're doing this live, so this is we didn't really practice this too much, but let's see how easy this works. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the notebook, and it just takes the link that was shared, and
Yeah, and you can
I
see Fru has joined me on the notebook. And basically
awesome.
what we can do, we can start typing the code together. Can you come to me to the second cell, Fru? Yeah, so it would be your cell, and I can start typing something here. And all the changes that we are making, they are real time. So yeah, just it's really easy to start collaborating with your team. And when I shared the notebook with Fru, I not only shared my code, which you can, for example, do already via GitHub, but I also shared the associated environment, the data connections, and the computation state. So we
Mhm.
can basically forget about exchanging different versions of the same Jupyter notebook. I mean, different versions
Yeah.
of Jupyter file, and start collaborating on the codes in real time together. But of course, there could be a question about like, how do we keep track of the versions of the notebook? What if my collaborators ruin my work while, I don't know, I'm asleep, and they start early throughout the day?
Hmm.
We of course integrated internal history tool to keep track of changes. So for every potentially harmful action, such as cell deletion or worksheet deletion, Datalore will create a custom history checkpoint, and you will be able to see the difference between the current version of the notebook and the version from the checkpoint. And so these are the checkpoints that you can always revert to. And if you
Hmm.
want to, I don't know, like save a certain state of your work, what you can do is press Command S and create this checkpoint yourself. So
Okay.
if you want like to set this milestone of your work, I really recommend like creating this custom history checkpoints, because
Hmm.
really easy to revert, really easy to track the changes. And Taylor will also highlight the changes that have been made by your collaborators. So it's kind of really similar to Google Docs, I would say, because
Hmm.
I feel that data scientists, they are not they do not come all from the software engineering background, and software
Hmm.
engineering process is more straightforward, and data science needs a lot more iterations. And
Right.
it's kind of similar for me when, I don't know, preparing, I don't know, an essay in Google Docs or compiling a document. You do not always know in the forehand what the final piece of work will look like. So it's
Hmm.
really helpful to keep track of changes and do this iteratively. And
Exactly.
yeah, and real-time collaboration is not necessary. It's not necessarily about pair programming, but it's about asking for help. It's about
Yeah.
like being on the same page with your team members, because data science teams, I mean, data scientists can wear a lot of hats at the same time. So they can be, I don't know, doing some SQL, they can be then working on model prototyping, then they could
Hmm.
be working on preparing reports. And sometimes you need help from other team members who are more experienced in a specific part of the workflow. And you can
Hmm.
collaborate and have a solid piece of work without having then to combine all of the pieces together
Yeah.
and the work. So you can just start working right away in Datalore.
Yeah.
And
Or just even having folks who would review your experiments to give feedback, like you said.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
what are the levels of sharing? Is it sharing just from an editor perspective, or can you share as a reviewer for non-editors to maybe just see the app or see the experiment that was carried out as part of that data science project? Are there different levels to share?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, you can share for edit access, which will a notebook. You can share a notebook for edit access,
Hmm.
which will allow your editors to edit the code and access your work. And then you can also share for view access. And view access basically allows you to view the notebook live.
Hmm.
And there are also other kinds of sharing. I will talk about them later. They imply more sharing with external people, like with stakeholders, with business stakeholders. But I would also love to mention that in Datalore, you can not only collaborate on notebooks, but you can collaborate as a team in workspaces. And in
Hmm.
these workspaces, you can have your project notebooks, you can have your workspace files, which could be basically shared data sets. You can have reports. I will talk about them right away after I show the workspaces. You can have your scheduled notebooks here, database connections, cloud storages. And this basically, by sharing a workspace, you can share all of this work artifacts at once with your team. And then if, for example, one data scientist is on a sick leave or on vacation, there is like Datalore reduces this buzz factor in teams. So everyone is like kept up to date with the recent updates of the data science project. And you can always like see what other team members have been working on, ask questions, this way deliver search results and deliver insights faster. And also, it's a good way to structure team knowledge because
Mm-hmm.
workspaces again could be shared with only view access, and you can this way provide the more like sleek onboarding experience for the team
Mm-hmm.
members.
Yep.
So yeah, that's about collaboration part, but more about live collaboration or collaboration within Datalore for people who know how to code. But there are also ways how you can collaborate with Datalore with other decision makers across a company. And we have an amazing report builder that allows you to turn books full of code, full of experiments, full of intermediate steps into an interactive or a static report or a data app. And
Oh.
yeah, just you can put the cells on the canvas, you can add more cells, you can even add like the whole analysis, including the code if you want to
Mm-hmm.
document something. And then you can share it either for as a static copy or as an interactive copy. And this report right now is shared as an interactive copy, meaning that you like people who get access to this report. And by the way, the cool feature about Datalore here is that you do not need to have a Datalore account to be able to view these reports. For
Mm-hmm.
example, if you have stakeholders who know nothing about Datalore, they do not want to know about Datalore, they
Yeah.
just want to get a report, they just want to see the results, they can just access these reports under a link and be able to manipulate with interactive controls, and Datalore will recompute the whole analysis behind this report for them without the end users knowing anything about Python, about SQL. And
Mm-hmm.
what Datalore will do, by the way, this notebook is really complex. It has a bunch of SQL cells, it has a bunch of Python transformations. So Datalore will launch the computation on the
Mm-hmm.
backend and rerun the whole analysis. So you
Mm-hmm.
can rest assured that you will get your reports built on fresh data, for
Yeah.
example. Yeah.
And also very performant then for folks. If you have 10,000 potential executives that want to come in and look at this report, you get that performance there too as well.
Yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
actually, if you are sharing it as an interactive report, each user
Mm-hmm.
will get their own copy. So
Mm-hmm.
you won't be interfering with others who are interacting with such reports. And yeah, just you can also share your notebooks as static copies. You can leave then comments there, and just it's, I would say that static sharing is just as slightly better as sharing a PDF because you can
Mm-hmm.
update it whenever you want it. You can have comments and you can just always tweak anything that your stakeholders want. Because what I love about these reports and how they are different, for example, from dashboards that you can create in Tableau and Power BI, is because there is a very direct connection between the data, the notebook, and the report.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to, I don't know, edit something, let's say your stakeholders want to see two more columns or two more, I don't know, features in this report, you just open the original notebook with one click, you add these two columns to your SQL query, and voila, like the report is updated. And you can even
Mm-hmm.
schedule updates of this report. So if you want to deliver these results on like on a regular basis, Datalore also provides you with the scheduling feature. And
So it refreshes the data, so your app is always up to date when someone is looking at it.
yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And you can choose either from the user interface, the intervals to like refresh the work, or even specify a cron string if you want some more complex schedules to run on. And of course, there are options to get a notification to your email if the report run has failed, or get a notification that the report run was successful. And again, it's not necessary to update the final report. Some data scientists, what they would do, they would, for example, train a model in Notebook. They will have a metric cell displaying the model accuracy. And metric cells can even show you the difference between the previous run results and the current run results. And what data scientists would do, I mean, data scientists that would use Datalore not for only like presenting certain insights to stakeholders, but for data science, real data science. I mean, not real data science, everything is real data science, but for machine learning, let's say,
Yeah.
or model prototyping, they can just schedule their notebook to run, I don't know, every week to test the model on the new data and to see if the accuracy of the model has improved or not. And they can get basically all of the run results from this user interface. And I find it super helpful. To like
Wow.
automating again these routine actions. There are a lot of things that I haven't
Yep.
talked about, such as like compute, that it's really easy to upgrade your compute power, run notebooks on GPU. For companies, again, they can connect their own hardware and their computational power. Datalore could be installed on AWS, Azure, GCP, and other cloud providers. So, or even on-prem. And yeah, just if you work with real big data, there is always an option to upgrade your computation power.
Computational power. Wow, this is a lot, and this is very illuminating. Thank you so much, Alina, for really going deep dive at the high level and also going into show us the very different options for collaboration and configuration of the platform. So just to maybe bring this home for folks that have been following along here, the PyCharm or the JetBrains family is pretty massive. There's PyCharm, Dataspell, Datagrip, but data law is really the piece of it for data scientists to collaborate and to do work. And the beauty of it is it's not just for the data scientists, it's really a team sport between the folks that are writing SQL that want that experience to still keep some SQL going, as well as integrating that with Python for more advanced things where SQL isn't capable, but having that notebook experience to do that. That's really the audience for data law. So I think you really summarized that really well. And it's all SaaS based. If you want to try it, links to all of this will be in the description below for folks who want to go in and try the free version. I have tried it, and as somebody, I'm not a practicing data scientist, but I every now and then I want to spin up a notebook, and having an easy way to do that is always very, very welcoming. And it seems like this is a really good option to do that. Any last words? And I have a follow-up question which we ask to all the guests. So I'll tee that up at the end. It's a surprise question. But any last words or any last things you want to leave the audience with about the law?
Yeah, maybe just last thing I wanted to again emphasize that it's not only about the user interface, but we also solve the problem of computation management and providing access to compute power. So Datalore as a platform also helps you like organize the compute behind it, provide like CPU, GPU access, environments set up to the end users. So I would say this is what sets us apart and like specifies our target audience and like our users from, for example, other amazing JetBrains IDE. So Datalore also takes care of the backend part
The
as a
backend.
platform.
All right, that's awesome. Now, the last question and the surprise question we had here is about ChatGPT. Any thoughts on ChatGPT? What are your thoughts on it? Everyone seems to talk about it these days.
Well, I love ChatGPT. I actually, yesterday I was submitting my talk proposal for one of the conferences in the US, and I used ChatGPT to help me craft a sleek narrative. I mean, just of course, I submitted the context, the topic I want to talk about, but I feel it's such an amazing productivity tool. I've seen certain people like exploring it for coding, even like for code generation, etc. I haven't done that yet, but as a product marketer, I find it such like a cool colleague that could help you brainstorm, be more creative, and just speed up my routine work. So
Yeah.
yeah, just I really admire the technology behind it. It's really, I don't know, it's disruption. It's real
Yeah.
disruption to the way we treat things.
Things, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I always said something has reached mainstream when I literally go to the coffee shop to get my morning coffee. And I was just jokingly asked the barista about ChatGPT, and they somehow knew it. So I'm like, wow. So it's not just the technologies that are talking about it. Everyday people on the street know what this is. It's really powerful. And like you said, it's to me, folks have different perspective on it, and some folks talk about it coming to take away our jobs and take away the jobs of data scientists or take away the jobs of programmers or journalists. I have a little bit of a different view where, like you said, speeds up things. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I find myself wanting to write a summary about something, and I'm hitting ChatGPT first before even trying to struggle myself, right? That level of productivity. You still have to have something to say, but at least having something that can make you say it quicker, faster, better, to me, that's much appreciated. And it's very fascinating to see where all of this would go into the next future
Yeah.
here.
Totally agree with you because like I have my favorite marketing professor from
Mm-hmm,
NYU who I read on LinkedIn and like I watch his courses and he says
mm-hmm,
that like such disruptive technology, like the first impression that it will destroy certain job markets and it will like a lot of people will lose their jobs, but in the end it just breaks the humanity more productive and those
mm-hmm.
people become more productive as employees, maybe in a slightly different role. Of course, it's uncomfortable for like to understand that like what you've been doing could be replaced by an AI. But if you're smart enough, you will learn how to use this AI and become like incredibly productive, I would say. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. Well, Alina, I think that wraps it up. Thank you so much for being a guest. I know we've tried to have this a couple of times, and I'm really glad you could make it. Hopefully, you come on board to do a deeper dive. I think we mentioned the Snowpark integration with Datalore. Hopefully, at some point, you'll accept that invitation to come and do a demo on how to get that set
Sure,
up
sure.
and showcase the user. So, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And for everyone who has watched, thank you as always. It's been through here with the Demo Hub team. I will see you in our next demo.
Thank you very much, Fru.
You're welcome.